Hiya, I'm going to show you this makeup look from scratch today. It's a really simple and quick makeup look. Essentially, I've just gone in with a bit of coral, a nice bright lip. These are all kind of things that if you're feeling a bit tired will instantly lift your complexion, so I hope you enjoy. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description, so if you click to make the video full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow next to it and a full list of everything will drop down. Okay, cards on the table. I feel like I look a bit tired today. So whenever I feel like I look a bit tired, anything peachy is really good for kind of lifting the complexion, adding a bit of luminosity, and I'm gonna go for a really bright lip. So before I do any of that, I'm gonna start with some of my CC cream in the shade Light Medium. I'm gonna do a bit of a tan and those kinds of things this evening. So until I've got my tan on, I'm going to go for a slightly fairer shade than I'd usually wear. Now, I'm a little bit more red towards the centre of my complexion. So what I'm going to do is kind of focus my attention on the centre and then go in and pat a little bit more where I need it and try and keep it relatively soft anywhere that doesn't need so much. Now, I'm just kind of taking the excess of that over the eyes, but I think I might go in with a bit of separate concealer today. I wouldn't usually go in with this much, but I'm feeling a little bit more tired, and I think the smallest little touch can make a huge difference. So, literally that much. I'm going to take a nice, fluffy... Am I going to take a fluffy brush? Somewhere in between flat and fluffy, so I can pack it on where I need it and soften it out. I've warmed this up on the back of my hand before I go anywhere. And I'm going to go into a few little key areas here that feel like they could do with a bit of help. Now, one of the things I will say is that going right the way up to that eye line can sometimes make it look quite full coverage and quite false. So I'm going to avoid going right the way up to the eye line underneath. And then on the top, I'll probably take some of my, what's the word I'm looking for, highlighter and things like that, just to tie the whole look together without necessarily being too structured. And one of the things I would say to you, in particular about under eye concealer, is it's going to look the best if it stays where you've put it. So the key to get it to stay is to use as little as possible. So rather than automatically thinking you're going to take it all the way around, just that little bit kind of in those inner corners for me has already made me feel a lot brighter. And also then if I set that with a bit of powder like I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a nice small brush and just powder towards the centre of the face and that concealer. It just means then that I haven't lost the luminosity anywhere else, but I've sealed in where I do want everything to stay. Now I'm using a really light touch so that really I'm pressing the powder onto the skin rather than rubbing around or rubbing off anything that I've just spent all that time trying to build up. Okay, I want everything to feel nice and fresh, so I'm going to take a cream bronzer on a nice fluffy brush, and I'm just going to really gently add and build this into kind of key areas where the sun would naturally hit. And while I'm doing this, can I just tell you, the OC is my favourite programme of all time. I absolutely love it. It's got such a special place for me. I've watched it over and over because I had it on DVD. And like even now, you know, when you have those nights of like, what shall I watch? Or when you just want to watch something that you absolutely love. And I take great comfort in watching things again and again. I'm just quite like that. I love going back and watching, you know, the same love story that you love, or it's actually quite nice as well sometimes when you go back and watch something and you know what's going to happen and you can look for the clues as you go along. Well, anyway, the OC is just the one that I have watched inside out, back to front for years. I love all the soundtracks as well. I've always got those on my phone. Well, Melinda Clark and Rachel Bilson, i.e. Judy Cooper and Summer, have just made a new podcast, and they're going to go through episode by episode you know, behind the scenes, talking to people from the show, and it's just absolutely lovely. Like, I told one of my best friends, and he was like, that is just the perfect podcast for you, because honestly, I just love it so much. But if you, say the first one, if you listen to it, because it's all about the pilot, they're telling you the story of, they've got Josh Schwartz on, who also came at, well, it's his kind of concept. He also did Gossip Girl. And he is explaining that, like, a lot of parallels in his life are shown in Seth. And they talk about the casting of them all. I'm going in with some cream blush, by the way, just on the high points of my cheeks. They talk about the casting. They talk about those first episodes. Well, it's the first episode kind of that they really focus on, but then it ends up leading into the initial start of the show. But it's just really lovely. If you ever loved that as much as me, I cannot recommend it enough. And I always love hearing, you know, like, for example, Rachel Bilson was saying that she initially wanted to read for Marissa, and how different it would have been if that had happened. But I just think that show is so special to so many people. I think that podcast will do really well. And oh my gosh, like, I would listen to one of those for the OC, for Gossip Girl. I'm trying to think, there's so many I would listen to it for. I love anything like that though. Whatever I'm watching on the TV, I'm always Googling, like, all the actors, what are they doing now, where do they live, who's married to who. I just absolutely love it. I'm always, if I'm watching something, I've got one eye on what I'm watching and one eye on IMDb. I mean, this tutorial has just not taught you anything, and I'm so sorry, because I've just been so excited to tell you about that podcast. But if you take one thing away from it, I suppose it's get yourself onto IMDb for a whole load of trivia that you didn't even know you needed. Okay, I've not used this before. I'm going to go in with the Rosemary Smith Peach Lemonizer. I have used her luminizers before, they're lovely. I just haven't used this particular shade. It looks like a kind of rose gold. And what I would say about rose gold, I mean, it suits every complexion. It looks really pretty, but also it can look quite soft. It doesn't look quite as shiny as a traditional gold. Now, on me, this might look quite deep above the cheeks, but then when it catches the light, you don't necessarily look like you've got something really shiny on. You just look like you've got a nice glow. I'm wondering, I'm going to take a little bit of this around the eyes, actually. I'm going to go under these brow bones, and then I might do something else on the lids, because I absolutely love cream luminizers, and I am going to take this a little bit of everywhere. But what I would say is, now that I've used something creamy on that brow bone, I will have to set with a bit of powder. Otherwise, the creaminess of that would make my mascara print. I don't think I did a very good job of, I had some makeup on this morning, and then I took it off to start again and do this video. I think half of it is still on my face. It's just one of those days. I'm going to take a little bit of this luminizer through the temples as well. And it just, that little area of your face, you know, if you went out and caught a bit of wind or whatever, that would look quite kind of windswept as well. So it's always nice to pick it up with a touch of makeup. So I'm going to set this with a little bit of powder, the same translucent powder that I used everywhere else. And then just make sure that I'm all prepped, ready to go in with my mascara. I did this just in the nick of time. I think you can see the sun has just gone in, so it'll be as dark as anything in a couple of minutes. But anyway, I'm going to go in with the Victoria Beckham mascara. I'm trying to remember if I've tried this actually, the Future Lash. So let's see what it's like. Okay, just to mention, I did curl the lashes before, but I think that's really lovely actually. They look really long, very separated. Nice bit of volume, but not too clumpy. That's a really lovely one. I'm just going to do the other eye. Do you know what? In fairness, mascara isn't something that I get really, really excited about. I'm more of a highlighter person or a bright lipstick person, but that is an absolutely lovely mascara. It's been a long time actually since I've liked a new mascara as much as that one. Really love that. I think it's fab. Okay, we're nearly there. Every bit of me just wants to put a little bit of like a pinky nude lip liner on and keep this really fresh. But at the beginning I said, do you know what, if I'm feeling a bit ropey or a bit tired and I want to freshen everything up, I'll always go for a bright lip. So let's finish the job we started. I'm going to go in with, this is MAC liner in Cherry. And then I'm going in with Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in The Queen. And as always, I have just drawn my lips on whatever shape I kind of fancy in the moment. So I'm going to make sure they're nice and neat just on this side here. Well, there we go, nice and simple. But isn't it funny, like when you've got something like that bold red lip, you don't really look at anything else, and just something as simple as a bit of Luminizer and those corals in the complexion can really lift everything up, especially if you want to add a bit of warmth and life back to the skin. So I hope you picked up a few handy tips there. As always, please feel free to leave any questions or video requests in the comments section here. I always look at the comments and I'll happily do a video if there's something in particular you want to see. But have a lovely evening and I'll chat to you again very soon.